Welcome to the Football Ranking Lab. Our team of data scientists have put together a formula to rank all 32 NFL teams. This is our power rankings. We will start things off at the bottom. Unfortunately for Houston Texans fans, number 32, your team comes in. At this point, I think they are just looking forward to the draft and possibly getting Bryce Young as their new QB. At 31, we have the Indianapolis Colts. Jeff Saturday stepped in. We thought, oh my God, what's going on here? He's going to turn things around immediately. Didn't quite work out that way. 4-win team. They are tied with the New Orleans Saints for the worst turnover differential in the NFL. Next up at number 30, the Chicago Bears, the third worst scoring defense in the NFL. I think you have your quarterback with Justin Fields. I still think that was the biggest draft mishap when the Jets did not take Justin Fields. I thought it during the draft. I thought it was crazy to take Zach Wilson. Hindsight's 2020 now, but I did think that at the time. They just need to get Justin Fields some help, and the Bears are on a 7-game losing streak. Next up, a team decimated with injury. The Super Bowl champions have the number 1 rated PFF linebacker, just as a side note, in Bobby Wagner. And they have the lowest yards per play in the NFL. You lose Cooper Kupp, you lose Matthew Stafford, and it's just going to be difficult. At number 28, the Arizona Cardinals, the worst scoring defense in football. They need a revamped defense. Kyler Murray injured, but they really weren't doing too great with him, so I don't know what the future is for Arizona Cardinal fans. At number 27, we have the 5-win New Orleans Saints. They are tied with the Colts, as I mentioned earlier, with the worst turnover differential in the NFL. They do have a shining light in Chris Olave. That was a great pick. He is actually out this week. And moving forward, Andy Dalton, being a Bengals fan myself, I can tell you Andy Dalton is not going to be your answer, and it doesn't appear Jameis Winston is either. Who would have thought number 26, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers not having the season they had hoped for. 6-8 at the time of recording this, post Week 15. But somehow they are leading the NFC South with a record of 6-8. That is crazy, but and Tom really not having a bad year all in all. Some people want to act like he is washed. It doesn't appear that way statistically. They do have a top 10 scoring defense in Tampa Bay, but they do have the 5th worst scoring offense. I think they probably just need a little bit more around Tom if they are going to continue on with him. Following up the Buccaneers at number 25, we have the Atlanta Falcons with the number 1 rated PFF guard in football, Chris Lindstrom. They recently made a change benching Marcus Mariota in favor of Desmond Ridder from the University of Cincinnati. I don't really know if that's going to be the long-term answer. Also being a Bearcat fan, I hope it is, but my gut tells me it's not, so they might also be in the market for a drafted quarterback. Number 24, the Carolina Panthers. The Baker Mayfield experiment was an utter failure. They have the 2nd worst time of possession in the NFL. The Panthers somehow, though, have squeaked out 5 wins this season. They're a scrappy team, but they just need a lot of help. At number 23, the Tennessee Titans, just like Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, somehow with a record of 7-7, which isn't as bad as 6-8, they are leading the AFC South. But Ryan Tannehill is out. Malik Willis steps in. The Titans are the most injured team in the NFL this season. I mean, Derrick Henry is a beast as always, but even with the Tannehill injury and Willis stepping in, with Tannehill, they had the 7th worst scoring offense in the NFL, so how much worse can it get? Number 22, the Pittsburgh Steelers with a rating of 15.149. They have a top 13 defense and a bottom 6 offense. Kenny Pickett really hasn't been able, I should say, to get his footing. But you have to look at the future here. I always argue that Mike Tomlin might be the best coach in football. He's tied with Andy Reid, in my opinion, 1A, 1B. But Kenny Pickett might be a fine quarterback, but you're in a division with Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow. That is going to be tough for the future. At number 21, we have the Jets, really exceeding expectations this season, and I love it. I am all for the underdog. being a Bengals fan, we've been the doormat for so long. I would love to see the Jets make the playoffs. They just lost Thursday night to the Jaguars, so that is not helping them. So actually my power rankings here are post Week 15, so I'm assuming with our post Week 16 they will drop. But you do have the Sauce, one of my favorite players in the NFL, of course. And again, going back to the quarterback issue, and I know the fans of the Jets are probably feeling the same way. If you just would have taken Justin Fields. But unfortunately, as fans, we are not in the front office. We can't make these decisions. But with Justin Fields, he'd probably be in a much better position right now. At number 20, Myles Garrett and the Cleveland Browns. Shockingly, the number one time of possession team in football. But and in my opinion, they have the best running back in football, which is probably where that number comes from. But the Browns are 6-8, just have not had things go their way this season. Deshaun Watson has now taken over. If he can get back to what he used to be, the future is certainly bright for the Cleveland Browns. The Green Bay Packers are next on our list on a 2-game win streak. Is Aaron Rodgers bringing them back? They are now 6-8. I don't think the back-to-back MVP is going to win it this year, and I kid, of course he is not. But 15 of 32 teams in the NFL have not scored 300 points so far this season, and unfortunately the Packers are one of them. Number 18 on the list is an interesting story, probably the story of the year. Everyone, including myself, thought as soon as Russell Wilson signed with the Denver Broncos, they were going to be an absolute powerhouse. As many teams, they have been decimated by injury this year. They are the worst third down conversion rate team in the NFL. Russell Wilson, I just don't know what happened to him. He was one of the best quarterbacks in football, and he just completely fell off this season. They have the third best defense in football behind the Buffalo Bills and the San Francisco 49ers, but the offense is just not living up to their end. They're actually the worst scoring offense in the NFL. Chase Young is on his way back for our number 17 team on the list, coming in with a score of 16.854, the Washington Commanders. You have Taylor Heineke, you have Carson Wentz. Who knows what they're going to do moving forward? They have a solid foundation in place, and they are hanging in there for a playoff run. Another team like the Broncos that kind of took me by surprise this year, and not in a good way, unfortunately. At number 16, we have Josh Jacobs, the number 1 rated PFF running back in football in the Las Vegas Raiders. I thought for sure when Devontae Adams signed, you were looking at, a number 1 seed in the AFC, certainly 1, 2, 3, something like that. And it just has not worked out. Their scoring offense is actually the exact same total as the San Francisco 49ers, who are much higher on this list. Reason being, the San Francisco 49ers defense has given up 127 less points than the Raiders, so they need some work in the offseason. And are you going to move forward with Derek Carr? That's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But the Raiders certainly have the building blocks. They've got the pieces in place. I think they just need a few adjustments. At number 15, another number 1 at their position. PFF ranks Tyreek Hill the number 1 wide receiver in football, and I cannot disagree. He is absolutely amazing, but I think I'm doing him a disservice saying amazing. This guy is just out of this world. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone like him. The Dolphins come in with 17.848 points in our list. They are second in the NFL in yards per play, only to the Kansas City Chiefs. But their issue is defense. They have scored a total of 345 points this year, and they have allowed a total of 344 points. A surprising team when you look at what they lost in the offseason, but somehow number 14 on this list, the Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith having a tremendous year. Nothing that I think anyone could have seen. You talk about the perfectly balanced team. They've scored 355 points this year. They've given up 355 points this year. They have the number 1 rated PFF safety in football with Ryan Neal, and they are tied with the Philadelphia Eagles with the most yards per play in the NFC. But unfortunately, they are the worst time of possession team in football. Still hanging in there in the top 14, we have the New England Patriots. They're getting a lot of flack as of late. Mac Jones, is he the man? He's upset. Bill still being Bill. The coaching staff around him is in question. It's just kind of a mess in New England. If you're anything like me, you kind of got tired all those years of always seeing the Patriots. And no offense, New England fans, you certainly deserve it, but just constantly seeing them win. So you look at it and you're like, oh, good. We're happy here. The Patriots aren't what they used to be. They're still in 7-7 here, and they're still in the playoff hunt. I mean, if they win 2 out of these next 3, I think they'll certainly squeak in. So somehow or another, even with all the chaos, the Patriots are still contenders. Number 12 and number 11, to me, in terms of mathematical formula here and ratings, are the same team with just one difference. And at number 12, we have the Los Angeles Chargers. They are only one of 2 teams in the entire top 16 with a negative scoring differential. The team that I said they are just like is the other team. The Chargers have kind of a middle-of-the-road scoring offense, putting up 312 points this year, but their defense has given up 340, and that is certainly not a recipe for success. Moving up one, just outside the top 10, 0.5 of a point higher than the Chargers. Their doppelganger, the New York Giants, they are so close in almost every statistical category that we use to rank. The difference being, the Chargers are a better scoring team than the Giants. The Giants are a better defensive team. Oddly enough, the Chargers have scored 312 points, as I mentioned, this season, and the Giants have given up 312 points this season. All right, embarking into the top 10, we start off with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Just like the Jets, I am so happy to see this. I am always rooting for the underdog. Just as the number 9 team, when we get to them, is also a team I am fond of because, again, as a Bengals fan, beaten down for so many years, terrible organization, don't know how to do anything, can't draft, don't run things correctly, blah, blah, blah. Now the Bengals are in a position where they're getting some respect. I want to see the same from the Jets, the Jaguars, and our number 9 team. But going back to the Jaguars, you certainly have your quarterback of the future. I've seen 3 quarterbacks in recent history that I kind of knew, as much as I can know, were going to be big hits in the NFL. And those were Andrew Luck, Joe Burrow, and Trevor Lawrence. And I've hit 3 of 3. I think Trevor Lawrence has come on here as of late, showing what we thought he was going to be. Fantastic quarterback. Now you have a coach to pair him with that knows how to win, that knows how to get to the Super Bowl and win. So I think the future is unbelievably bright for the Jaguars, and I am so happy, as I am happy for number 9 on the list, the Detroit Lions. Another team always kind of forgotten, just kicked to the side. They're showing people this year that they've got something rolling up there in Detroit, and I am very happy. Dan Campbell has turned things around. Jared Goff kind of left for dead. Now he's the Rams. I bet they wish they had Jared Goff this year. They've got to tighten some things up. They have the 2nd worst scoring defense in football, only ahead of the Cardinals, but they are tied with the Cincinnati Bengals with the 5th highest scoring offense in football. A little bit of a surprise here at number 8, the Kansas City Chiefs. I didn't expect them to be so low using our mathematical formula. A score of 30.981. They have the number 1 PFF QB in football, the number 1 PFF tight end in football. They have the best 3rd down conversion rate in football. They are the highest scoring team in the NFL. But with all that being said, the way the numbers crunch here, at 11-3, your AFC West leading Chiefs are number 8. At number 7, we have the Minnesota Vikings leading the NFC North with a record of 11-3. Their last and only playoff win with Kirk Cousins at the helm was 2019. This was the year before Justin Jefferson. Obviously, I'm a fan of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, so by default, I like Justin Jefferson as well. I would love to see them get into the playoffs and get a win or 2 or more. Let's get all the way to the Super Bowl. Nip and tuck with the Bengals in the AFC North is our number 6 team, the Baltimore Ravens. Unfortunately, Lamar Jackson is out again this week, so I don't know how that is going to play out for the Ravens. They have the best turnover differential in the AFC, but they are the 2nd lowest scoring team that we have here in the top 10. They just signed Sammy Watkins. I don't know how much that's going to help, but the defense is what always carries the Ravens, just like the Steelers in the AFC North. and they have the 4th best scoring defense in the entire NFL. All right, kicking off our top 5. Our next 4 teams have scores over 40, and then the number 1 team has a score almost 60 in the ratings formula here. But at number 5, we have the Dallas Cowboys. They are second in the NFC East with a record of 10-4. They have one of the best defenses in football, one of the best offenses in football. Their differential per game in scoring, I believe, is number 4 in the entire NFL. The Cowboys certainly have the makings of a Super Bowl team. Can Dak Prescott finally get over the hump? Can he take them through the playoffs? Can they win a Super Bowl this year? Well, we will find out. There's a couple other teams in the NFC still to come on this list. They're going to have something to say about that. But at number 4, we're going to jump back to the AFC, and we have the Cincinnati Bengals. They currently have the longest winning streak in the AFC at 6 games, and they also have the 6th best scoring differential in football, as well as the 2nd best turnover differential in the AFC, only behind the Ravens. Oddly enough, on sort of a side note though, we have Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase going to the Pro Bowl this season, but T. Higgins was not voted in. You also had Tyler Boyd going in, so as a unit, the 4-headed monster, T. Higgins is kind of widely regarded as the number 2 guy, and Boyd the number 3 in terms of the receiving core. They're all sensational, but how T. Higgins did not get into the Pro Bowl is beyond me. And actually, speaking of quarterback wide receiver duos, who is the best in the NFL? Well, we have a video coming out soon that is going to answer that question, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Getting back to the important things, the numbers here. Our formula kicked out at number 3. The Buffalo Bills, they squeak by the Bengals by about 0.9 of a point. They are tied for the most wins in the AFC with the Kansas City Chiefs. Surprisingly, they are the best defense in the AFC. We think of the Buffalo Bills with the explosive offense. Crazy enough, they're the best AFC defense. I would not have known that until we started crunching the numbers. And the AFC playoffs are going to be crazy. The Bills, the Bengals, the Chiefs are already in. If it comes down to the Bills and the Chiefs again at some point, can Josh Allen finally get his team over the hump? Can they finally get to the Super Bowl? I think you feel it. As just a fan of football, I felt that the Bills are just right there. They just need the coin toss to go their way. They need the ball to go their way just one time. A little luck here, a little luck there, and they certainly can win the Super Bowl this year. All right, and our top 2 teams are both in the NFC. At number 2, the San Francisco 49ers, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the number 1 rated tackle in PFF, or by PFF, Trent Williams. They are allowing a league low 210 points on the season. No team is even close. I mean, the dominant defense. We've seen teams with these absolute dominant defenses and not superior offenses, like the 85 Bears, and I always forget the year, but the Ray Lewis Ravens with Trent Dilfer, where the defense is so good that if the offense just doesn't turn over the ball, you can win a Super Bowl. I think the 49ers are in that league this year with Brock Purdy at the helm. Can they win the Super Bowl? We'll find out, but there's another team in the NFC that has something to say about it. The rating is off the charts with the mathematical formula we use, nearly 60 points. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to have something to say about the 49ers getting to the Super Bowl. They're going to have something to say about any other team winning the Super Bowl. They are absolutely a dominant machine this year. And for my money, Jalen Hurts really has to be the MVP. I'd like to say Joe Burrow. Every year you think it's going to be Patrick Mahomes, and you really wouldn't be wrong saying that. But Jalen Hurts has just been absolutely on fire this year. The leadership, a 13-1 record. The definition of value is really what Jalen Hurts is doing this year. Unfortunately, Hurts is hurt. We have Minshew Mania stepping up this weekend. We'll see what happens there. But, I mean, the list here is just unbelievable. They have the number 1 scoring offense in football, the number 1 point differential in football, number 1 turnover differential in football. They are top 4 in yards per play. They are the number 1 team in football with time of possession. I could go on and on. You can see why they rated off the charts here with our formula. But number one in our power rankings for this week, the Philadelphia Eagles. Can they keep it up next week? Tune in and find out. If you have not already subscribed to the channel and you kind of look at what we have going on here, we're a brand new channel. We could use a lot of help. We would truly appreciate a subscription. If you don't want to subscribe, just hit the thumbs up. We'd appreciate the like as well. That'll help us gain a little traction here in the world of football. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.